Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, cream-colored and too expensive for anything kind. Danica Robinson sat at her modest kitchen table in her Chicago apartment, one hand resting on her 6 months pregnant belly, tired from a full day of working from home. She recognized the handwriting immediately. Tyrone's. Her ex-husband. Her fingers trembled slightly as she slid a nail under the flap, even though she told herself she did not care anymore. The divorce had been finalized 4 months ago, just 2 months after she found out she was pregnant. 2 months after she had walked into their bedroom and found Tyrone tangled up with Sierra Banks, the woman he swore was just a colleague from marketing. A thick invitation slid out, printed on heavy cardstock with gold lettering. Preston Technologies' annual gala, Grand Sterling Hotel. Danica's eyes dropped to the handwritten note scrawled at the bottom, and her stomach turned. Danica, thought you might want to see what real success looks like. Sierra and I are doing amazing at Preston Technologies. I am a senior consultant now, and she is in marketing. Maybe seeing how well we are doing will motivate you to finally get your life together. The note continued, each word nastier than the last. We even got you a +1, though I doubt you will bring anyone. See you there, or do not. Either way, we will be having the time of our lives. Tyrone. She read it 3 times. First came the hurt, sharp and familiar. Then the anger, hot and rising. Finally, something else settled over her, something cold and precise. She set the invitation down, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, and reached for her phone. She scrolled through her contacts until she found the name she needed. Desmond Porter. Her lawyer. Her business partner. One of the only people who knew the truth about her current situation. She hit call. Danica, hey, Desmond said as he picked up. How are you feeling? Is the baby okay? His voice was warm, the concern genuine. Danica looked down at her belly and felt the faint flutter inside. We are both fine, she said. I need you to tell me the acquisition went through. Please tell me we closed the deal on Preston Technologies. There was a pause on the line, then a low chuckle. It went through yesterday. All the paperwork is signed. The Shell Corporation transferred ownership at midnight. You officially own Preston Technologies, Danica. You are the boss. Danica picked up the invitation again, a slow smile spreading across her face. Good, she said softly. That is perfect. What is going on? Desmond asked. Tyrone and Sierra just invited me to the company gala, she replied. They think I am some pathetic ex-wife they can mock. They have no idea who really owns the company they work for. This is going to be good, Desmond said, laughing outright. When is the gala? Saturday night. 3 days from now. So what is the play? Danica stood and walked to the small window overlooking the street below. The apartment was nothing special, just a temporary place she had rented after the divorce because Tyrone kept the house. He had kept almost everything, actually. Her lawyer back then had been useless, and Tyrone's family money had paid for the best attorneys. She had walked away with barely anything, pregnant and alone. What Tyrone did not know, what no one knew except Desmond and her accountant, was that Danica had spent the last 6 months building something extraordinary. The plan is simple, she said, her voice steadying. I am going to that gala. I am going to let them have their little moment of feeling superior. And then I am going to walk onto that stage, introduce myself as the new chief executive officer of Preston Technologies, and fire both of them. Desmond let out a long, delighted whistle. I love it, but are you sure you want to put yourself through this? I know how hard the divorce was, he added. Seeing them together again, especially now that you are pregnant, might be more difficult than you think. Danica placed her hand over the familiar curve of her belly, feeling another soft kick. She was having a girl. She had not told anyone yet. This baby was her private joy, the reason she had kept pushing when everything else fell apart. I am sure, Danica said. Tyrone took everything from me. He cheated. He lied. He told everyone I was the problem. He took credit for ideas I came up with and walked away like I was nothing. But he did me a favor. How do you figure? Desmond asked. Danica sank back into her chair and stared at the invitation. Losing everything forced me to remember who I was before him, she said. Before I spent years supporting his dreams and letting mine die. I remembered that I am smart, Desmond. Really smart. And I used that to build something real. She was not exaggerating. After the divorce, Danica had been at rock bottom. She was pregnant, broke, and living in a friend's spare room. But she had one asset nobody could take: her mind. She had spent years working in software development, always in the background, always letting others take the credit. During her marriage, she had floated several innovative concepts for business software, ideas she shared with Tyrone over takeout dinners and late-night talks. He would nod absently and say, "Interesting, but not practical," before changing the subject back to his career. Danica knew those ideas were more than interesting. They were brilliant. So when she found herself alone in that cramped spare room, she opened her laptop and began to build. She chose her best idea, a data management platform designed to make complex systems simple for small and mid-sized companies. Working nearly 18 hours a day, fueled by cheap food and stubborn determination, she coded the first prototype in 3 weeks. Desmond, who lived down the hall in the same building back then, had knocked on her door one night after hearing her pacing and typing through the walls. When she showed him what she had built, he stared at the screen in stunned silence. "Danica, this is worth millions," he finally said. Desmond helped her file the patent and introduced her to a circle of investors who trusted his judgment. Within 2 months, she had sold the software to a major tech corporation for $50 million. The day the money hit her account, she sat on the edge of the bed and cried for an hour, hand over her barely showing belly. Then she dried her eyes, booked an appointment with a top obstetrician, and started planning the rest of her life. With the help of financial advisors who understood tech, she began buying struggling companies, fixing them, and selling them for profit. Within 6 months, Danica's net worth had grown to over $2 billion. She had done it quietly, through holding companies and shell corporations, never attaching her name directly to anything. 3 weeks ago, when Preston Technologies' aging chief executive officer decided to retire and sell, Danica saw her chance. She had Desmond structure the purchase through a shell corporation so that the board and staff would have no idea who was behind the buyout. She offered a fair price, promised to protect the employees, and the board accepted. For the last 3 weeks, Danica had been reviewing every inch of Preston's operations. Personnel files, financial records, internal complaints. What she found regarding Tyrone and Sierra did not surprise her. Tyrone had been falsifying expense reports, small amounts spread across dinners that never happened and conference trips he did not attend, but they added up to tens of thousands of dollars. Sierra had been bullying younger staff, stealing their ideas, and creating a toxic culture in the marketing department. Both of them were liabilities. "I need termination papers for Tyrone Robinson and Sierra Banks," Danica said now. "I want everything airtight," she told Desmond. "I am not firing them because they hurt me. I am firing them because they are bad for my company." "Already ahead of you," Desmond replied. "When you first floated buying Preston, I started digging. The fraud goes back almost 2 years. And the complaints about Sierra? There is a pattern. We have more than enough to terminate them for cause." "Good," Danica said. "Have security ready at the gala. When I am introduced to the company, I want them escorted out the same night." After hanging up, Danica stared at the invitation one more time. The cruel words that would have destroyed her 6 months ago now read like fuel. Tyrone thought she was still the same woman he had left, overworked, insecure, and willing to accept scraps of respect. He had no idea who she had become. She stood and walked to the small second bedroom she had converted into a home office. The walls were bare except for a framed photo from her college graduation. She stood between her parents, all 3 of them grinning proudly. Her father had died 2 years after that picture. Her mother had passed 3 years later. Danica had no siblings, no extended family to lean on when Tyrone left. For a long time she had believed that he was all she had. Looking at the photo now, she saw a young woman with a degree in computer science and business, graduating at the top of her class, filled with ambition. "I almost forgot about you," she murmured to her younger self. "But I see you now." The baby kicked, a firm little nudge that made her smile. "It is going to be different for you," she whispered down at her stomach. "You are going to see your mother build something. You are never going to watch me shrink for anybody." By Wednesday, Desmond had arranged an appointment for her at a boutique in downtown Chicago that specialized in formal maternity wear. The boutique was the type of place she would never have dared to enter during her marriage. Tyrone had always controlled their finances, questioning every dollar she spent on herself. Now she walked through the glass doors as the security guard held them open, head high. "You must be Danica," said a stylish woman who introduced herself as the designer, Melanie Fox. Desmond said you needed something unforgettable for Saturday. That is one way to put it, Danica said. In the fitting room, Melanie draped an emerald green gown over her shoulders, then began pinning and adjusting the fabric around her belly. The color looks incredible on you, Melanie said. The empire waist will give you room to breathe while still looking regal. You will not be hiding this baby. You will be honoring her. Danica studied herself in the mirror. The silk caught the light beautifully. The deep V neckline was elegant without being revealing, and the way the gown skimmed over her pregnant belly made her look powerful instead of vulnerable. It is perfect, she said softly. You seem nervous, Melanie observed, stepping back. Big event. Danica exhaled. I am going to see my ex-husband and the woman he cheated with for the first time since the divorce, she said. I was pregnant with his baby when he left me for her. Melanie's mouth tightened. Then you are going to walk into that room and remind both of them what a mistake they made. Maybe, Danica said, a small smile touching her lips. Or maybe I am going to do something much bigger than that. As Melanie finished pinning the hem, Danica's mind drifted back over the last 10 years. She had met Tyrone at a tech industry mixer in Atlanta when she was 25. He was 28, charming, funny, just starting his Master of Business Administration program. He had approached her at the bar, complimented her question during a panel, and asked about her work. Their first date had lasted 6 hours. Back then, he had seemed genuinely fascinated by her ideas. They married 2 years later in a simple courthouse ceremony followed by dinner with a few friends. At first, things had been good. They shared a tiny apartment in Chicago, both hustling to build their careers. Danica was promoted twice in her software firm, her creative solutions catching the attention of her supervisors. Tyrone finished school and started at a consulting firm. Then the shift began. He needed nicer suits, more expensive dinners, a more polished image. Danica tried to keep up. She bought clothes she could not afford, smiled through networking events, and started silencing herself to let Tyrone shine. By year 5, her world revolved around managing his schedule, his meals, his social life. When he suggested she take a less demanding role so she could keep things stable at home, she agreed, telling herself it was temporary. When he dismissed her dream of starting her own software company as too risky, she shelved it. Each compromise felt small on its own. Together, they erased her. When Tyrone joined Preston Technologies as a consultant in Charlotte, he was thrilled. Danica celebrated with him, believing his success was their success. That was when he met Sierra. Sierra was everything Danica had slowly stopped being. Loud, flashy, always turned up, always at every event. Tyrone began working late, traveling more, coming home smelling like unfamiliar perfume. Danica suspected something was wrong, but every time she worked up the courage to question him, he accused her of being paranoid and ungrateful. The night she found them together was 3 weeks before their 10th anniversary. She came home early from a work trip, carrying groceries and a bottle of sparkling cider to celebrate good news from her doctor. She opened their bedroom door, and the world cracked. Sierra did not even bother to look embarrassed. She smirked as she gathered her clothes from the floor, brushing past Danica as though she were invisible. Tyrone sat up in bed, not bothering to cover himself. I was going to tell you, he said flatly. This is not working anymore. You and me. It has not worked in a long time. Danica remembered her own voice sounding small and broken as she asked. So your solution was to cheat on me? Tyrone rolled his eyes. I found someone who actually understands me. Someone exciting. You have become boring, Danica. All you do is work and come home and work some more. 2 weeks later, Danica realized she had missed her period. The pregnancy test turned positive almost instantly. She told Tyrone over the phone because she could not bear to see him. After a long silence, he asked, Are you sure it is mine? Those 7 words stabbed deeper than any affair. During the divorce, his lawyers painted her as unstable and manipulative, a woman who had trapped him with a pregnancy. Her lawyer, overwhelmed and inexperienced, did not know how to fight back. In the end, Danica signed just to make the nightmare stop. Tyrone got the house, the car, most of the savings. She walked out with her clothes, a laptop, and a baby on the way. Standing in that friend's spare room, staring at a stack of bills and a future she could not see through, she had almost folded. Instead, she opened her laptop, pulled her old idea from the back of her mind, and started coding. Now, months later, she stood in a fitted emerald gown, baby kicking inside her, with the power to fire the man who once claimed she was worthless. We will have the final alterations ready by Friday, Melanie said. You are going to be unforgettable. Friday afternoon, Danica sat in Desmond's downtown office overlooking the Chicago skyline. Papers were spread across the table: audit reports, termination letters, security protocols. Desmond tapped a page with his finger. Tyrone's expense fraud totals just over $60,000, he said. Sierra's misuse of company resources and repeated harassment complaints make her termination easy to justify. If you wanted, we could push for criminal charges. Danica shook her head. No. Pressing charges will keep them in my life longer. I want them gone, not dragged through court. Termination for cause, no severance, badges deactivated the moment the letters are handed over. Security will be ready, Desmond assured her. And the board? Danica asked. Do they know it is me yet? Desmond smiled. Not yet. They know they have a new owner, and they have seen your plan for Preston's future, but they do not know the name behind the shell corporation. The chairman will reveal you at the gala. I think they will be relieved. The previous chief executive officer was frustrated with the politics. Your vision is exactly what this company needs. Danica thought of the plan she had carefully drafted. Expanded development teams, ethical standards, merit-based promotions, a culture that rewarded collaboration instead of sabotage. Saturday night arrived like a drumbeat. The Grand Sterling Hotel gleamed with crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors. Danica stepped out of the town car, her emerald gown catching the downtown lights. She had styled her hair in soft waves, her makeup understated but flawless. Around her wrist, she wore a silver bracelet Desmond had given her the day before with a small phoenix charm. You rose from the ashes, he had said quietly. Seemed appropriate. As she walked into the ballroom, heads turned. Whispers followed her, curious eyes taking in the unfamiliar, pregnant woman who looked far too confident to be anyone's pity story. She accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing server and scanned the room. Round tables draped in navy and silver filled the space. A string quartet played near the stage. On a raised platform, a podium waited for speeches. As she moved through the crowd, a young woman approached her, nervous and wide-eyed. Excuse me, she said. I do not think we have met. I am Alana Brooks. I work in executive management. Danica smiled, shaking her hand. I know who you are, Alana. We have been emailing. It is good to finally meet in person. Alana's eyes widened as the truth clicked. You are here, Alana whispered. I mean, of course you are here, but you are here. She lowered her voice. Does anyone else know? Not yet, Danica said. That comes later. How are things looking? The board is all present, Alana replied. They seem excited about the new owner. As for your targets, they are over by the bar. They have been telling anyone who will listen how pathetic Tyrone's ex-wife is. They still do not know who bought the company. Danica followed Alana's gaze and saw them. Tyrone, in a sharp suit he probably could not actually afford, and Sierra, in a red dress that screamed for attention. Tyrone noticed her first. Danica watched his expression slide from surprise to smug satisfaction. He leaned down and murmured something to Sierra, who turned and looked Danica up and down with a slow, cruel smile. They began walking toward her. Here we go, Alana said under her breath. It is fine, Danica replied softly. Let them talk. Tyrone stopped in front of her with an exaggerated look of concern. Danica, he said. You actually came. I am surprised. I figured seeing how well Sierra and I are doing might be a bit much for you. Hello, Tyrone, Danica said calmly. Hello, Sierra. Sierra's eyes skimmed over Danica's gown and pregnant belly. Bold, Sierra said. Most women in your situation would try to hide a pregnancy, especially a single mother without much going on. But I suppose if you do not have anything else to show off, you might as well lean into it. Danica tilted her head. My situation, she asked. Tyrone gave a sympathetic little shrug. You know, he said, living in a tiny apartment, struggling to make ends meet, trying to figure out how you are going to raise a baby alone. I told Sierra you moved into some little place after the divorce. That must be rough after the house we had. The house you kept in the divorce, Danica corrected gently. Because you earned it, Sierra cut in. Tyrone is the one with the real career. Consulting at Preston, big clients, real money. You're just, what is it you do again? Coding? Do you even have a job right now? Danica's expression did not change. I work in tech development, she said. That is sweet, Tyrone replied, patting the air as if to comfort her. Listen, Danica, we did not invite you to be cruel. We thought maybe seeing success up close would motivate you. Maybe push you to finally get your life together before the baby comes. You are not getting any younger. I appreciate your concern, Danica said. But my life is together. Sierra laughed. From where I am standing, you are a divorced, pregnant woman with no husband, no house, and no prospects. That does not scream together to me. Alana stepped forward, eyes blazing. Who do you think you are talking to? She demanded. This is Alana, Danica said quietly, touching her arm. It is fine. They are entitled to their opinions. Tyrone glanced at Alana's badge and shrugged. You work here, he asked. In what department? Executive management, Alana said crisply. Administrative work, Tyrone muttered dismissively, turning back to Danica. So tell me, he said, what have you been doing with yourself? Besides eating for two, obviously. Danica let the insult slide past her. I have been busy, she said. Building things. Planning for the future. Tyrone laughed. You were never much of a planner, he said. Remember that software company idea you had? I told you it was ridiculous. You did not have the skills or vision to run something like that. I was right, was I not? You gave that dream up pretty quickly. I remember what you said, Danica replied. I also remember how much I believed you back then. Because I was right, Tyrone insisted. I am the one with the business sense. You are the tech geek. That is not the same as leadership, Danica. You are better at taking orders than giving them. That is not an insult, just reality. Look at us. He gestured between himself and Sierra. We are thriving. We are both in line for major promotions. Word is the new owner looked at my file and was impressed. So while you are trying to scrape by over there in your little apartment, we are climbing. Is that what you heard? Danica asked, smiling faintly. It is what I know, Tyrone said. Before he could say more, the lights in the ballroom dimmed slightly. A voice came over the sound system. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will begin the program shortly. That is our cue, Tyrone said. Enjoy the show, Danica. Try not to feel too bad when you see what real success looks like. He and Sierra walked away laughing. Alana turned to Danica, outraged. Are you all right? She asked. They are disgusting. Danica picked up her glass of sparkling water. I am perfect, she said. Come on. Our table is up front. They took their seats near the stage. Across the room, Tyrone and Sierra sat midway back, still talking and preening. The board chairman, Leonard Price, stepped up to the podium. He was a dignified man in his 60s with kind eyes and a calm voice. Good evening, he began. Thank you all for joining us at this year's Preston Technologies Gala. This has been a year of tremendous change for our company. Danica listened as he recapped recent milestones and thanked various departments. Her heart beat a steady rhythm, not from nerves but from anticipation. As many of you know, Leonard continued, our longtime chief executive officer retired 6 months ago. The board has since been working to find the right person to lead Preston into its next chapter. Someone with vision, integrity, and a genuine commitment to our people. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Danica saw Tyrone lean toward Sierra, smug satisfaction written all over his face. Leonard smiled. I am pleased to announce that we have found that person. 3 weeks ago, Preston Technologies was acquired by a leader in the tech industry whose track record speaks for itself. This person has turned struggling companies into success stories, built a business empire from the ground up, and done it with a focus on ethics and innovation, Leonard said. He turned, scanning the room. His gaze settled on Danica, and his smile widened. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our new owner and chief executive officer, Ms. Danica Robinson. The room froze. Then gasps and scattered applause broke the silence as every head swiveled toward her. Danica rose slowly, one hand resting on the curve of her belly, emerald gown shimmering under the lights. As she walked toward the stage, she passed Tyrone and Sierra's table. Their expressions were everything she had imagined. Tyrone's face had gone slack, all color drained. Sierra's lips parted in horrified disbelief. Danica did not stop. She did not even glance directly at them. She climbed the steps, shook Leonard's hand, and took her place at the podium. Thank you, Leonard, she said. She looked out over the sea of faces, the employees who were now her responsibility. Good evening, everyone. I know this is a surprise for many of you. 6 months ago, Danica began, I was at the lowest point of my life. I had lost my marriage, my home, and most of my possessions. I was pregnant and alone. There were people who assumed I was finished. She let the truth hang there for a moment. But here is what I learned. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover who you really are. When there is nothing left to lean on, you find out what is inside you. The room grew quiet, the clink of silverware fading. Somewhere in the middle row, Tyrone stared at her like a stranger. I remembered that I am not just someone's wife or someone's support system, Danica said. I am a builder. I am a creator. I am a woman who turns ideas into reality. I developed software that sold for $50 million. I invested that money into companies others had written off. I built an empire worth over $2 billion in 6 months. And 3 weeks ago, I chose to buy this company because I saw its potential. Applause swelled, then quieted as she raised her hand. But I am not here to brag, she continued. I am here to talk about the future of Preston Technologies. Over the past weeks, I have reviewed our operations, our finances, and our culture. What I found is that we have incredible talent in this room. And we also have serious problems. We have people whose work is stolen. We have departments where bullying is tolerated. We have employees who treat this company like their personal bank. She did not look at Tyrone and Sierra, but she felt them squirm. That ends tonight, Danica said. From this moment forward, Preston Technologies will operate under 4 core values: respect, integrity, innovation, and merit. These will not just be words on a wall. They will be the standard by which every person in this company, including me, is judged. If you have been overlooked, if your ideas have been dismissed, if you have watched others take credit for your work, I want you to know, I see you. I bought this company for you as much as for the shareholders. She outlined her plans. Restructuring teams, investing in development, creating clear paths for promotion, enforcing zero tolerance for harassment and fraud. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. People stood, clapping and cheering, energized by the possibility of real change. Danica stepped away from the podium just as Desmond entered the ballroom from a side door, carrying 2 folders and flanked by security. He walked straight to Tyrone and Sierra's table, his expression all business. Danica moved to the side, close enough to hear. Mr. Robinson, Ms. Banks, Desmond said, his voice carrying just far enough. My name is Desmond Porter. I am legal counsel for Preston Technologies. These are your termination letters. Your employment is terminated effective immediately for cause. Tyrone's chair scraped as he shot to his feet. You cannot be serious, he snapped. You cannot fire me at a gala. You are being terminated for expense fraud, misrepresentation, and theft of intellectual property from junior staff, Desmond replied calmly. Security will escort you from the premises. Your badges have already been deactivated. Sierra's hands shook as she opened her letter. This is her, she hissed, stabbing a finger toward Danica. She is doing this because she is bitter. This is the result of a standard audit, Desmond said. Ms. Robinson's personal history with you is irrelevant. Your conduct stands on its own. Security stepped forward. Tyrone looked around, realizing the room was watching. Danica, he shouted, voice cracking. You cannot do this. You are nothing without me. This is all luck. You will fail. This company will burn with you in charge. Danica met his eyes with calm, unshaken composure. Goodbye, Tyrone, she said. Sierra glared at her. This is not over, Sierra spat. Yes, Danica replied quietly. It is. Security escorted them out, the ballroom doors closing behind them with soft finality. The crowd buzzed, but the board members approached Danica with firm handshakes and grateful smiles. Leonard clasped her hand. That was decisive and justified, he said. Your speech, your plan. I believe we made the right choice. For the rest of the night, employees lined up to introduce themselves, to thank her, to share tentative ideas. The energy felt different already. Monday morning dawned bright over Chicago. Danica arrived at Preston's glass headquarters in a royal blue maternity suit, the phoenix bracelet glinting at her wrist. Alana met her in the lobby with a tablet. Good morning, Ms. Robinson, she said, grinning. Your office is ready. The executive team is waiting in the main conference room. Let us get to work, Danica said. On the 14th floor, 10 executives sat around a long table, tension visible in their shoulders. They rose as she entered. Good morning, Danica said. Please sit. I know the last 48 hours have been eventful. She spoke plainly. I bought Preston Technologies because I believe this company can be great, she said. But I will not pretend everything I saw in the audit was acceptable. We're going to change how this place operates. That starts with all of you. One by one, she asked them to describe their departments honestly. The strengths, the problems, the people who were quietly holding everything together. The chief operations officer, Valerie James, finally said what others had been circling around. Morale is low in several divisions, Valerie admitted. People stopped sharing ideas because they were afraid those ideas would be stolen. That will not continue, Danica said. I have asked human resources to design new evaluation systems. Promotions will be based on performance, not office politics. Bullying and harassment will be addressed quickly and decisively. She slid copies of the audit summary across the table. I also want to address the obvious. Yes, Tyrone Robinson is my ex-husband. Yes, he and Sierra were fired the same night I was introduced. They were terminated because the evidence demanded it. If someone else had owned this company, they would have made the same decision. We are not running this place on emotion. We are running it on principle. After the executives left, Danica spent the day walking the floors, meeting employees, asking questions. In marketing, she noticed a young woman watching her nervously from behind a computer monitor. Her badge read Nadine Clark. Danica walked over. Nadine, she asked. I saw your complaint in the files. Nadine stiffened. Nothing ever came of it, she said quietly. I figured it was better to keep my head down. That was wrong, Danica said. The person who harassed you does not work here anymore. I would like you to come to my office at 2 o'clock. I want to hear what happened and make sure it never happens again. Later that afternoon, a junior consultant named Jared Lee stepped into her office, eyes nervous behind his glasses. Thank you for meeting with me, Ms. Robinson, he said. Please call me Danica, she replied. I have reviewed your work, Jared. The client strategies you created were impressive. They were also presented under Tyrone's name. Jared flushed. I was afraid to report it, he admitted. He was my supervisor. He made it clear he could ruin my career. You were protecting yourself in a broken system, Danica said. As of today, you are a senior consultant with a salary increase to match. You will be taking over Tyrone's former accounts. Jared stared at her. Are you serious? He asked. Completely, Danica said. We are also instituting a strict policy about credit. If anyone is caught taking credit for work that is not theirs, they will be terminated. Good work will be seen in this company. That is a promise. By the end of the day, Danica's feet ached and her back throbbed, but her spirit felt steady. As she packed her bag, Alana hurried in, eyes wide. Security just called, she said. Tyrone is in the lobby. He is demanding to see you. He says you owe him a conversation. Danica closed her eyes for a moment, then nodded. Have security stand by, she said. I will handle it. In the lobby, Tyrone paced near the security desk, his suit rumpled, eyes wild. When he saw her, he rushed forward. You cannot just destroy my career like this, he said. You cannot fire me and then slam every door in my face. I have rights. Danica stood a comfortable distance away. You had rights, she said. You forfeited them when you stole from this company and abused your position. You no longer work here. You do not belong in this building. You are really enjoying this, are you not? He demanded. Seeing me desperate. Seeing me beg. Danica shook her head. You still think this is about you, she said. You left me with nothing, Tyrone. I built everything I have now without you. You did not make me. You just tried to break me. And yes, I am grateful you walked out. If you had not, I might never have pushed myself to become who I am now. His gaze darted to her belly. That is my child, he said. You cannot keep me away forever. No, Danica said. This is my child. That is the difference. Security waited, hands folded. Tyrone's tone shifted from defiant to pleading. Danica, please, he said. No one will hire me. My name is ruined. Help me. Give me some kind of reference. Say the fraud thing was blown out of proportion. You are successful now. You can afford to be generous. Danica looked at him, really seeing him, still arrogant, still looking for a shortcut. I am generous to people who deserve it, she said. To people who work hard and act with integrity. You are not one of those people. You are living the consequences of your choices. That is not my burden to fix. Put him on the banned visitors list, she told security. If he comes back, call the police. Weeks passed. The story of the pregnant chief executive officer who bought her ex-husband's company and fired him made headlines across business sites and talk shows. At first, some critics called it revenge. Danica did not argue with them in comment sections. Instead, she held a press conference, standing in Preston's media room in a burgundy dress, her belly now impossible to hide. She calmly explained the acquisition process, the independent audit, the multiple terminations beyond Tyrone and Sierra. She released redacted audit summaries, letting the evidence speak. "This is not a soap opera," she told reporters. "This is business. My personal life is not our operating policy." The transparency worked. Investors, reassured by her candor and impressed by her strategy, rallied behind her. Employee satisfaction scores climbed. Clients emailed to praise the changes. Danica began receiving messages from women around the country, divorced, broke, rebuilding, telling her that her story gave them hope. One message came from a woman named Felicia Grant, who approached her after a tech conference in San Francisco. "I was at your press conference," Felicia said, eyes shining. "I am going through a divorce right now. My husband left me with nothing. Seeing you standing up there made me think maybe I can come back from this too." Danica listened, offered practical advice, and later that night scribbled the words Phoenix Foundation in a notebook in her hotel room. She would build a foundation using her own money to help women who were where she had been: grants, mentorship, childcare support, business training. Turning her pain into a ladder for others felt right. Back in Chicago, her pregnancy progressed. She attended prenatal classes, often the only woman there without a romantic partner. In one class, the instructor, Denise Howard, approached her during a break. "Will you have support during labor?" Denise asked gently. "Yes," Danica said. "My friend Desmond will be there. And I hired a doula, Tanya Wells." Denise smiled. "You do not need a spouse to have a supported birth," she said. "You just need people who care about you." Late one night, after another long day at Preston, Danica lay awake feeling her daughter roll and kick. "I am building all of this for you," she whispered. "The company, the foundation, the life we are going to have. Your father chose himself. I am choosing us." 2 weeks later, she stood on stage at a major tech conference in San Francisco, delivering a keynote about ethical leadership. She talked about building companies where integrity mattered as much as innovation, about the responsibility that comes with power. She did not hide her story. 7 months ago, she told the packed auditorium, "I was newly divorced, pregnant, and broke. I felt like a failure by every traditional measure." "I did," Danica said. "They gave me a glass trophy." Isabella's eyes widened. "Because you are amazing," she said with the certainty only a small child possessed. Danica laughed. "Because I work hard and treat people kindly," she answered. "That is what really matters." Later that night, after Isabella was asleep, Danica sat in her home office, reviewing proposals for expanding the Phoenix Foundation. More regions, more support, more women lifted from the ground up. Her phone buzzed with a message from Felicia. "Just got promoted to senior developer. 6-figure salary. I am crying. Thank you for helping me believe this was possible." Danica smiled as she typed her reply. "You did that yourself," she wrote. "I just reminded you of your strength. I am proud of you." She set the phone down and leaned back, listening to the quiet hum of the house. This was her life now. A thriving company built on integrity, a foundation turning survival into victory for hundreds of women. A little girl sleeping down the hall who would grow up knowing that her mother had refused to stay broken. None of it had come from revenge. All of it had come from resilience. She turned off her office light and walked to Isabella's room. The nightlight cast soft shapes on the wall as her daughter slept surrounded by stuffed animals. Danica brushed a kiss across her forehead. "I love you, baby girl," she whispered. "Tomorrow we keep building this life. Brick by brick. On our terms." She closed the door softly and went to her own room, pulling the covers up with a tired but content sigh. She had lost everything once. In that loss, she had found herself. Now, with her daughter, her company, and the women rising alongside her, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would never shrink again. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.